Feed me more. But specifically less Ryback.
Yes. Sounds like me over Christmas. The Christmas dinner. Feed me more turkey.
I don't see you as that aggressive.
No, that's
I can see you being really like, Mother, more turkey. I see like Oliver.
Can I have some more?
More please. I'm a growing boy.
Oh yeah, but that's just what goes in internally. I never externalise
this is the guy inside.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have a Ryback
But there's
inside
a big
you.
filter that filters that out, but gets what he wants
Do you know
in a polite way.
Do you know what? The fact that you've got a Ryback inside you explains your Twitter. Anyway, hello, and this is Sam's on Wrestling, and this is the Power Rankings, the series where we take a wrestler, male, female, or tag, and we score them out of 10 in 10 different wrestling categories, giving them an overall score out of 100. We then combine the scores together to give them an overall score of 200 and see where they will land on our leaderboard. And today, we are starting with the big guy.
The big guy.
It's Ryback.
Simon Miller.
He is Roydy Simon Miller.
Oh, yeah.
And I can say that because it's a quote from CM Punk, effectively.
Is it?
What do you call him? The steroid guy.
Oh, I didn't know he used Simon Miller.
He called him... No, he didn't.
Yeah,
I'm saying...
yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. But what do you think of Ryback? We're going to get into more detail on the big guy during this ranking. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And how would you rank Ryback? Please put it in the comments below. And let's find out where we're going to put the big guy.
It's feeding time.
We start with wrestling ability, their ability to do many, many moves. Very tough one, this specific one. Other ones are going to have big discussions, I feel, because you realise, because we'll put this out there now. We're not massive fans of the Ryback, Ryan Reeves as a person. I don't think the firing of the WWE has gone down particularly great.
No.
And I think on Twitter, maybe, just maybe, deactivate it.
Oh, he could do without it, couldn't he?
He's a little bit of a tit.
I wouldn't say it to him.
I would not.
No.
And the weird thing is, he seemed like a lovely guy as well. Like, it's weird. Like, every time I see interviews with him, he seems decent and humble.
Maybe outside wrestling he is, but there's just
in the bubble. I can't get out of the wrestling bubble, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if there's doubt, he's a tit. So that's how I'm judge it. But we're going to judge it on what we've seen in ring. So there's going to be no bias. There's going to be no animosity because a lot of people like Ryback rubbish too. We're going to do it on what was in the ring, and quite frankly, these scores are going to be a bit more weirder than we think. But wrestling ability, man couldn't work.
This is the thing. So you could do some nice moves, and if you kind of watch some highlights of him, or if you watch a match of his way, he does a squash match. He does some kind of moves.
Squash match, entertaining as hell.
Yeah. He does some good little moves.
Do that to the main eventers.
No. And the problem is, he had a botch in him, I think.
Every match, he was dangerous.
And famous.
And this is the thing: botching is one thing, but if you're a botcher, like I'm going to name a the most botchiest of all botchers. I'm going to go with no. I wasn't you thinking Sin Cara.
Yes,
I was going Sabu.
Oh, right.
But Sabu was trying unbelievably difficult, crazy spots, and you kind of like, I'm allowing him to mess up because I know he's going for something. If you're messing up a press slam, you're not very good.
Well, also in Sabu's case, I think most of the time, if he botched, it would hurt him.
Yes.
So he's taking his own safety in his own hands, but less so the opponents most of the time. Whereas Ryback is power moves. So again, if he places
and he's strong, and he's a big man, and it's gonna hurt if he gets it wrong.
There's no excuse for that story of him just bench slamming Punk, missing the table completely.
and he just goes splat.
There's no
and
excuse.
He blames Punk, and he misses the table. He hits the edge of the table.
Punk's supposed to gain wings and fly to the table.
Do you know what? If there's anyone who thinks he can fly, it's probably Punk.
I wouldn't put it past.
He probably thinks he's an angel. But when it comes to Ryback, Mr. Ryan Reeves, Skip Sheffield.
Oh, yes.
If you go up with his moves, like, you squash, you're absolutely right, but this was the problem that Rhino had. When Rhino got on WWE, his gore was like oh my God, Jesus Christ. But you can't do that to The Rock. The Rock's not going to let you gore him. And same for his meat-hook clothesline. When he hit that clothesline for the first time on all the teeny tiny 5'3" jobbers, they went flying and it was, oh my God. But you're not going to do that to Cena. He's not going to allow you to do that because you can't do that with the main eventers. And that was his problem. The minute he then started having to go with the main eventers, he had to soften it up so his clothesline looked less devastating. And outside of his main 3 moves, what else could he do? I've gone with a 4. I generally think the amount of botches cannot be discredited here. We always do it their best, by the way. We try and do it at the test, but we haven't mentioned it much because we've done a lot of these now. But we try and do it their best. So it's not just, oh, they're rubbish. It's like, what would they be at their best? This is how we get our rankings. But I think at best he's a 4 wrestler.
It's interesting because there's some people you could score a 5 or even a 6 that I think actually would be less entertaining to watch than Ryback.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I enjoyed watching him, I will point out. But this is, I think, as fair as I can get to back and
No, but then you make a good point with the botches in terms of bringing it down, and it's not great. So actually, I had a 5, I'm going to bring it down to a 4.
I think the sentence you've just said is, he was incredibly entertaining, and I think there are way better wrestlers who would also get 5s and 6. But there's also way boringer wrestlers who would get 5 and 6. But his botches really just drag it down. We move into their storytelling, their ability to tell a story in the ring. I also have a similar problem to I have with wrestling ability with this.
Go on.
I've gone 4 again.
Okay.
Because what story did he tell that wasn't the big guy dominate story? The problem he ran into, and we saw this, this is what happens when you have storytelling, you give someone an undefeated streak and then you rush them to the main event. They have to lose and you have to come up with weird gimmicks for them to lose. Think of everywhere he lost in that opening year. It was Shield interference, it was the
Brad
Maddox, let's not talk about that, cretin. You know, costing him and all that jazz. You have to come up with these funky finishes that ruin storylines, but it also means it ruins the flow of the match because you can't lose. And then he started losing and they were just so like meh. The story he told was he was the dominant who would throw you around, and then how do you get on top of him because he was mainly a babyface. His work would work better as a heel, but like Goldberg you can't. So Goldberg had to do these 2-minute matches, and the reason he got compared to Goldberg is because he couldn't actually, everyone goes, oh, he looks like him. No, it's the working style. He couldn't actually work a style outside of the one style he could do. He reminds me of Nia Jax before she returned. When Nia Jax beforehand, all you could do is the same match, and she was good at that one match, but it was rinse and repeat, and it got boring. Now she actually has way more interesting and different dynamic matches. Could Ryback have a different dynamic match outside of having a Mark Henry or something?
No, I don't think so. But I still think at least he could tell a story. He could also get the crowd involved. The crowd would get into it.
I think that he was more over rather than the story he was telling in the ring.
Yeah, but he had his taunts and
The Feed Me More got over and everyone was responding to that, but I don't believe that's much of the story.
No,
I think that's the setup.
I've scored it 5. I'm not saying I'm scoring it high.
I think I could also understand that, but for me it was. I think. If I took it as here's one match, I'd go, that's a 5 out of 10 storyteller. Yeah. But if you watch every match, you go, okay, every match is the same. And that has to drop it down because it means you can't tell a different story. Yeah. We move on to promo skills, their ability to cut a promo. I really struggled here.
I gave him a 6 because I think he's kind of got that weird 80s style intensity of, I'm the big guy. And I kind of like the fact it was different to what was about. He had a character, even if his character was more of like a meathead. That's kind of what they were going for, leading into that kind of gimmick. I still think at least he's got a character. He had a personality. He could kind of be a heel.
But now we're talking about talking. Everything you've just said there had nothing to do with talking.
No, I get it.
They literally, everything you said was character, was look, was his presentation. None of it was his ability to talk. Sam, what's his ability to talk?
I gave him a 6 when I did this.
Is that his talking or is his character?
It's hard to say.
I've given him a 4 for talking because he literally didn't say anything. He couldn't talk, and that's why he got shown out in the main events because he couldn't speak. He couldn't say anything interesting because they did the right thing. Their presentation was just to make him big and powerful and to throw people around and get him over that way, squashing people. They did the Goldberg booking and it worked perfectly, right? But every time he had a microphone, it wasn't good. And I think about the 2 promos that I have in my head. One is when he's with Paul Heyman and they're doing the kiss on the ramp and all that. He's going, ha ha ha, and all that. It's always bad. No. And then there's him with Curtis Axel. Do you remember that tag team?
Of course, Ryback.
Of course. Curtis Axel got injured. Yeah. And Ryback suddenly just out of nowhere went back to the Feed Me More gimmick. They went, we're going to do it again. And then didn't give him booking. But they did a backstage segment on main event. Right? You probably wouldn't have seen it. It was on main event. And Curtis Axel's there. And then Ryback walks in and he goes, Ryback, he goes, hey guy, I've got hungry again. And Curtis Axel went, what? He went, oh, sorry, I lost you at Mexico. And he goes, but don't worry, all tag teams get back together. And then named a couple of real tag teams, and then went Bastion Booger and Maven. They all get back together eventually. And, you know, and we will get back together. We will be together. We will, and then we'll lose. And that was the promo. And I went, I hate and love this promo.
Brilliant. I kind of like it.
I did as well. I've gone 4. I don't think he could talk. I probably could go to a 5. I will go with a 5 because he at least he tried, and it wasn't boring, but it wasn't great. I'll go 5. We move on to their look. Okay, that's their presentation. Could be appearance, could be attractiveness, could be have a thing in their eye. I just want to cry from talking about Ryback.
Don't blame me.
Yeah, absolutely. What, Sam, what have we gone for his look?
Just segue to me and
Sam,
you deal with your eye situation.
Yeah, what are you doing with his look?
I've gone with a 9.
Jesus
look at
Christ.
it. Well, I mean, you can't look at anything right now, but right. I mean, his appearance is incredible. Like his physique, whether natural or not, was incredibly impressive compared to what was around him as well. He got a nice attire. I like the gloves. He looks like, I don't know, he looks like someone you might use on Mortal Kombat.
That's exactly what he is.
Yeah,
He's a Mortal Kombat character. He doesn't look real.
But yeah.
And I don't think he is.
No.
Is the main problem. I liked his attire until you realise it's just RVD's attire.
Yeah, but much more muscular and bald.
It's the same person.
Yeah.
He literally went to RVD's artist who made all the stuff and got it. I went with 8 because it's... You're right, the big size, but I always can't... I hate talking about someone's size, and this is why I always struggle with the 80s and 90s people, but I'm going to have to take it as read, and I'll do that for everybody. But I didn't massively overly care for the look in comparison to a Goldberg who wore considerably less. I don't know why, but do you want to know why I've dropped it down, though? Sure. Because he got rid of the really cool outfits and went to those really weird shorts. And that was him for a while. Do you remember?
When did he do that?
Oh, near the back end. And he got rid of the cool singlet and went to just shorts. Because he was in that in his WrestleMania match with Kalisto, I believe, at WrestleMania. And he just
I don't remember the shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Because he just looked weird. He didn't look unique anymore. So even though he's a big guy, he didn't look unique. So I've gone with an 8 because I refuse to give him a 10. But I probably would have given a 9 as well because he's a big, huge man and he looks amazing. But he also, you know, there's something marketable about Goldberg's face. Do you know what I mean? And Ryback, you can't...
Goldberg looks a bit more menacing.
Yeah, and Ryback, I think, looks like a farmer. Yeah. We move on to their entrance, Sam. What have you gone for their entrance?
Oh, I gave it a 7. It's a nice little entrance.
I gave it a 7 as well. Yeah. The Feed Me More, everyone knows who that is straight away. We hate when people have to say their name as their entrance, so you know who they are. That means you're lazy if you have to say their name. But if you could say a sentence that is connected to them that everyone can attach to, great. Fake fireworks.
Yeah.
Fake fireworks. Have you ever known what I'm on about? They zoomed in on Ryback's face when he goes, more, and all that. Great. And a blast would go off behind him. There wouldn't be a blast, it was a sound effect.
I didn't know that.
There was no blast. Well, why would you have fireworks and not show it?
No, I'd not seen enough Ryback entrances to remember.
So literally, he goes, you know...
They did like a nice little close-up on his face there.
Yeah, that was to hide the fireworks. But I liked them more. And I like the song, actually. I think it's really good. Yeah. Once it kicks in, you know, it's actually a really good song. He actually got the presentation perfectly. I think, really, if he'd learned to work better and they didn't do the goal... If they literally didn't put him with Punk, where they had no choice. They literally had no one else they could have moved to after Cena got injured. And then Cena was on the pay-per-view anyway. Yeah. I think he would have actually been even bigger and I think he would have had a better career. But his entrance was an entrance that attracted to people. It really did. So, yeah, I'm 7 as well. We move on to the heel, their work as a bad guy.
It's interesting for me because with big guys like this, big guys,
the big guy,
you would tend to think that they'd be better as a heel. I think he's better as a face.
I think he sucks to the heel.
I
think you overshot that to the moon.
Have you?
I've given him a 3.
3.
Every heel thing he did sucked.
Maybe it's because I wasn't around as much. And
sucked. Think about everything it did. His heel turn, first of all, didn't work because it was against Cena and everyone cheered him. So already, that's failed.
That was the night after Mania, wasn't it?
It was, after he lost to Mark Henry.
Yes. My boy,
Why?
Mark Henry, the right man, won.
Why?
Because he's Mark Henry, Sam.
Why?
Because he's Mark Henry.
I don't put it on the same level as Booker T losing at WrestleMania 19, but I tell you what, that is still one of the most confusing WrestleMania bookings I have ever seen.
Mark Henry, Sam.
Did you remember how he won the match?
Yes. Ryback tried to shell shock him and he fell on him.
Just landed on him. That's it.
Because he's the world's strongest man.
So Ryback is so strong that he can lift Mark Henry, but he can't press him out of a pin predicament.
Pretty much.
What a loser. But then his heel turn was really bad. His matches with Cena were actually okay, but they weren't amazing because people didn't like Cena yet, and he's just done his stuff with The Rock, and that didn't work. And we didn't get to Cena of the US Open Challenge yet. And then he aligned with Paul Heyman. And everyone goes, oh, everyone who works with Paul Heyman succeeds. And you're like, no, they don't. This is the era of no one working with Paul Heyman. Curtis Axel, Ryback, Cesaro, they're all here. And Paul Heyman can't turn... Well, mainly they had him talking about Brock the entire time. But he didn't get any of these guys over. And him and Ryback had that terrible Hell in a Cell with Punk. 2-on-1.
Oh, no.
None of it's good. It's actually really bad. He does not work as... Goldberg didn't work as a heel. Goldberg was terrible here. When we do Goldberg, it will drop his score down dramatically because he doesn't work as a heel, and neither does Ryback. 6 is just, I love you, I respect you,
Thanks,
and I value your opinion. But this is wrong. His heel work sucked. It's bad.
I'll give him a 5 to appease
It's
you.
still wrong, but fine. But it really is. Everything. There's nothing good. Zero good.
I think he's almost a better heel on Twitter, really.
Yes, he's a
That's his best
heel human being,
Yeah.
but Jesus.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, something I didn't have on my 2025 bingo card.
He defended
and
Punk,
I know
didn't he?
it was 4 months ago, but when else were we going to talk about it? He defended Punk.
Yeah,
And I was like,
he was right as well.
I was right, of course he was right, but it's like, what?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, let me have my bingo card. Cena win the 17th. Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble.
Charlotte Flair win the 22nd.
Charlotte Flair wins a 107th title. I haven't got Ryback defending Punk on this. I haven't got it. I've got 2 little ducks. We move on to their work as a babyface, as a good guy. Sam, a weird one to judge. Where do you go here?
I think this is probably more to do with booking. I've given him a 7.
I've also gone 7. I plumped for 7. If you because we say 8, 9, and 10 is your upper echelon. That is your best of the best, and then it's judged within the best of the best. I don't think we can put him in the best of the best of baby faces. I don't think you can. But you cannot say that he didn't get over as a babyface.
He got a reaction.
And we'll talk about over a bit later, but he was so over as a babyface. People were really on his side. They all chanted, "Feed me more." They all did. They did it with him. They did it at the meat hook clothesline. They liked the shell shock. The character, even with Goldberg chants going on, was still over. They still liked him, and they genuinely wanted him to succeed. The booking is what dropped him down and ruined his babyface run.
There was a good portion of people who actually wanted him to beat Punk for the title.
And I kind of was one of them. I genuinely thought, I literally was one of the people who went, well, he has to win this match now. But clearly that's not the booking you're going for. But I went, he has to win this match because the momentum is there. He was great. He was really, really entertaining. And he was the most over person. He was the Jey Uso of the time. And they didn't pull the trigger. Do you know who I'm going to compare him to? Braun Strowman.
Oh, but Braun's so much better.
Obviously. But massively over. Didn't pull the trigger for some reason. And Ryback is an example of not pulling the trigger. And I think genuinely if they'd have pulled the trigger and he'd had a little run, could even lost it back to Punk. Punk didn't need the 500 because he lost to The Rock anyway, so it didn't really matter. But if he'd have had that run, I think we could have been pushing that upper echelon as a babyface.
So he'd have had The Rock versus Ryback at the Rumble, is what you're saying.
Do you know what? It would have been a better match.
Would it?
No. But hey,
you just said a thing and it made no sense and had no validity whatsoever.
I wanted to see your response.
It was disgusting. What it was.
That's what I wanted to see. I saw a little bit of vomit.
Yeah.
Gimmick and personality. Sam, another tough one.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 6. The heel stuff.
Nice.
I think if we went solely on babyface, and it stopped after the Shield attack. that
ended his career.
That was it. That was the moment. They never recovered. Never recovered. He had a little flash in the pan around Survivor Series 2014.
He wrestled at TLC with Kane and Daniel Bryan. That was a really good match.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying he never recovered in terms of that from that moment on. He never got to out again. And the fans did want it though, because when he returned as the big guy in 2014 and joined the Survivor Series team, it was almost like the fans went, "We will accept the reset," and went with it. They did go with it.
Yeah.
They absolutely did. And then he was out first in the Survivor Series match.
Yes.
Don't put him in it!
Yeah.
Can you remember what he did in the 2015 Royal Rumble? Can you remember?
No,
was he in it?
He must have been in it.
Was he in it? I have no... Was he
He
just
must-
thrown out by the Wyatts? Was he in one of the Wyatt
It was
runs?
probably the Big Show and Kane because they threw all of the babyface.
Yeah, it must have been. Must have been. So they already killed his momentum. But from a gimmick and personality standpoint, that heel run was so bad. The gimmick didn't work as a heel. It dropped down so much. His personality was grating as well because he was like big smiles and stuff. His gimmick with Curtis Axel also was really random. You got this main eventer and suddenly he's in a losing tag team with Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
I had to look at it and went, from a gimmick standpoint, they just ruined and stripped away his gimmick. Yeah. And even when they handed it back to him, they stripped his gimmick. So I had to go 6. I think I would have gone 7 if they'd have stuck with the gimmick, or he left, or he had a better heel persona. But yeah, and I refuse to give him a score on personality. Over and a draw. So this is how much money they made, or how over they were with the crowd? Where in the blue moon do you go here? Because, I'm going to say it before you say your score, there was nobody more over than Ryback in 2012. And I include Punk in this, because he was a heel by this point. I'm meaning that. I'm putting the flag in. There's the flag. Hold my flag. Put it in. You hold it for a bit. Wave it around. Jim Duggan loves it.
I'm a real Ryback. Yeah.
If you have to go on each year, if you literally had a list of year and went, who was the most over of that year? Yeah. Ryback is the most over in 2012. He's at least joint winner, or at least second at the very least.
Brock?
No, not as over. He's
back.
But he's also he's there like 3. He's
I know.
He's there 3 times. But I get your point. My point is the noise, the level, the support. He was the most over person on the roster. Flip forward to 2013. He is the least over person on the roster. Sorry, I've done that. 2014 is what I say. 2014.
Fandango was also there.
Yeah. He turned up on NXT a couple of months ago.
He did.
And everyone Fandangoed me.
I loved it. The world is healing.
That's how over he is, Sam. Fandango's way over. But that's my point. If you've got someone who is regarded as one of, if not give you the top 3 most over in the company, it's very hard to judge this poorly. So I've gone 7 because he was just not over from literally the Shield onwards. Not over at all. You know, bar that flash at Survivor Series, he was a little bit over again. I've gone with 7. He brought in no money because they didn't do any merch and stuff with him for some reason. They should have done food.
It's just a food chain.
Yeah, they should have done a food chain. Hey, if Hulk Hogan can have pasta, then Ryback can have a series of meat sandwiches.
Exactly.
What did you go with?
I went 7 because
you went 7 for me, yeah.
he probably got more over than a lot of wrestlers have ever been over in their entire lives. So you've got to really factor that in.
You cannot ignore. There are people, you can like him or not, or you can have your opinion on him now. Go back and watch wrestling from 2012. No one's getting bigger responses than him, at least loud, at the very least on the loudness scale. If they had the old little sound, I love they brought that back and it never went higher. And they were like, don't show it, don't. Because I remember somebody entered and they thought it was going to be a huge pop, and it was like a 19.
When was that?
A couple of months ago. Back end of 2024 actually. That's how long ago it was. And I remember because they did it for like Paris, and they were like, look how loud the Paris are. And they showed it in this pay-per-view thinking that someone was getting big, might have been LA Knight or something, and it just went. And they were like,
I love LA Knight.
Ryback 7s I think is probably right. But let's be honest, if he got injured against the Shield, let's say Shield put him through the table and he broke his neck, for example, so he couldn't wrestle ever again, he might be a 10 on over. Because you'd
always think, what could have been?
Yeah, exactly. He was the most over person on the roster, and he was over from the start of his career all the way to the end. And he was going to throw in. I know we're not allowed to include it because Nexus is a group, but you can't say they weren't over as a group as well. So and he was a big part of that because he was their only big one. Powerhouse, yeah, they used him as the powerhouse.
Would you like your flag back? Thank you.
It's fine.
I just held that for you.
It's fine because it's not an official country. It's allowed to hit the floor.
You can dishonour that.
We move into the finisher. You should always end on a finisher. The shell shock.
Oh, I like it.
Do you like it? I don't.
Well, I gave it an 8.
I give it a 6. Do you know why?
Go on.
Because it's a slow motion Samoan drop.
No, because he runs and you know what? No, he marches around the ring with them, and that's.
I like the march. I do like the march.
He does. It's like it is a bit Goldberg because he does the clothesline, which is basically coming at the spear. That's the setup.
It's weird because I like the combination, but we have to talk about the shell shock. But I agree with you. I like the combination from clothesline into the shell shock. I have to admit. I actually personally think, and it's my genuine view, the meat hook clothesline should have been his finishing move.
I think it was for a bit.
He should have
when he was at the Nexus.
He should have had that as his finishing move just like JBL with a clothesline punch. That's what should have been, because I looked at the shell shock and I went, it's all right, but it really is just a very slow motion Samoan drop.
I like it, Sam. I like it.
Do
He
you know
hooks the leg and he marches around.
Do you know what I would have rather he did? I know, I might be in the minority here. I'd have rather he did a torture rack. This is what he should have done as a heel, I'm more thinking. A torture rack into the shell shock. Yeah, shake, 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 pow, pow. Lex Luger, bang! I would have loved that. I think that would have ruined really good.
Maybe.
But for me, I thought it was fine. I think the marching, weirdly, actually ended up hurting him in the end. Because I'm going to go rough. I'm going really left field here. Think Wardlow. And for a while, his finishing move was the Powerbomb Symphony. And you can't just keep hitting powerbombs because you can't have that as a finisher because it doesn't work, because you have to destroy the person and win the game rather than, that quick or whatever. Yeah. And the shell shock's very hard to do quick, necessarily.
Yeah, but I think the pop when he would get someone like decently heavy in the air and he'd march and everyone would go, oh, and then because he has to run and drop the back, you can still counter it. So it was like he's got them for the setup, but he still has to hit it.
Could you imagine if he got the chance to catch someone and then just hit it straight away? He could have done that moment. He never really did anything interesting with the shell shock. It was always a little march around the ring.
He's done it with two people at once, but when he was with Jobbers, which is really cool.
Yeah.
When he did it with two at once.
We always love a two at once.
Oh, it's great. It's great
always
fun.
love. That sounds like a search that we don't want to put into Google. So we now look at our overall score. Sam, where did you overall score the Ryback?
I gave him 65.
I've given him 57. Bit of a discrepancy between the two of us. Very rare we have such a large gap.
I do tend to be more positive, I think.
Yeah, do you know what? I think you're more positive on wrestlers who are in your sort of era.
True.
That seems to be the difference. So it's very interesting when it's from my era. I don't know if that's bias or just because you've got that attachment to them.
Or I just know more.
Yeah, I don't know. We can get that real. I mean, it's an interesting one. That gives him an overall score of 122. So first of all, he is going on to our mid-card leaderboard because he won the IC title. We didn't actually discuss the IC title chamber match at anybody. Well, drop all the scores. Drop them all down. Oh, what an awful... That might be one of the worst IC title reigns, and there's been a few. He's on the mid-card, because even though he did main event, it wasn't consistent, and I think he was there for a little bit at the back end of 2012, and then that's kind of about it, really. So we decided that he was going on to our mid-card leaderboard, and he goes into 5th place on our mid-card leaderboard behind Wade Barrett and above Baron Corbin. And let's just see where he lands on our overall leaderboard. We're now starting to get close to the end of the first page, Sam. Here, there's going to have a couple of pages. And he's slotted into a very weird trio.
Yes.
In between Alberto Del Rio and Sid.
I'd love to see that faction.
That's a very interesting... Oh, what meathead faction, either via...
With Del Rio.
No, he's the meathead brain. But thank you very much for joining. How would you rank Ryback? Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Now, I'm hungry.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's go. Feed me more. Or reunite Bastion, Booger, and Maven.
Yes!
Let's do it!
And then lose.
Oh, yeah.